Okay, so we have tubes that have been sitting in acid for about a week. Okay, so this egg crate shell top and these tubes and the caps in this bottle have been traveling together from the cleaning station to the micro station to the acid station. Now they go to our preliminary rinsing station, which is a rinsing station that's supplied with HEPA filtered air. We're rinsing with milli-Q, but it's an intermediate station because it's still kind of within the confines of the main lab. Our final rinses are going to be in the clean lab, which are probably a little bit overkill, but overkill is better than underkill. Okay, so I try to spill this out carefully so I don't splash any acid. I'm also going to let it sit like this for a couple seconds to get most of the drops off. And I'm going to transfer this into the intermediate rinsing stations, and I want to spill as little acid on the floor or anywhere else as possible. Anything that I do spill I want to clean up. Okay, so I've let most of the Renegade drops fall off. Now I'm going to come over here, and ideally what I should have done is lifted the sash. My hands have acid on them right now, so I'm going to change my gloves in any case. But right now I'm putting the sash up. Now I'm going to change my gloves. Can't film the clean lab today. Ain't nothing clean about it.
Don't have time.
What's that?
I said I don't have time.
Paper cuts.
Ouch.
You gotta go?
I probably will before we have to do the clean lab.
Yeah. It's okay. We'll do this, we're still on?
Yeah, don't worry, I can cut it out.
Okay, so now I have the sash raised, and I have the vials ready to go into this hood. Okay, this is a slightly dark corner, so it's a little hard to work at. This is our milli-Q, which is fed from the clean lab, so we have an automatic way to fill up this carboy from the clean lab. And the first thing that we really want to do is get all the acid off of our gloves and everything else, because the acid in fact contains a lot of metals, even though it's a trace metal grade. You'll also notice we have a plastic backdrop here, and that's designed to keep the water from spilling onto the back of the hood and making things funky. First thing I'm going to do is try to remove the acid from this grate as carefully as possible. Okay, I'm going to let each tube overflow. My memory is this gets a little tricky on the 8th tube because we start running out of room. So you have to turn the rack like this. So the inside of each tube is being overfilled, and then the water that's coming out is bathing the outside of the tube as well, which has acid on it. This in and of itself is imperfect, but it's very rapid, and in the clean lab we have a final step that takes care of any traces that we may have missed. Traces of acid, that is. So any metals that are in the tube are desorbed from the walls because there's lots of protons in the acid. As you remove the acid, you're removing any of the metals that were in solution as well. It won't hurt to do something like this to kind of get the necks of the bottles, but they're getting a pretty good rinsing from the overfilling. So at this station, we'll repeat this step about 4 times. Then in the clean lab, we repeat the same exact step in the clean lab 3 times. And then what we're going to do is we're going to handle small numbers of tubes in our hands, basically outside of the rack, and rinse them individually. That'll be our final rinse in the clean lab. And so you can cut out any part of this that...
Okay.
From this point on, well, I will do the caps in a second.
Okay.
Okay, so it's important to note that the bottom of this tray is kind of clean, but I wouldn't call it trace metal clean. So you don't want to set anything on the bottom of this tray, you don't want these caps loose and on their sides, because a lot of things are rinsed off in here. Okay, so now I'm going to take the bottle of caps, I'm going to move this over. Now I have my hand freshly dunked in that trace metal grade acid. I'll close this up to minimize acid fumes. So I've rinsed this 4 times. Oh, I forgot to empty the acid. So I'm going to empty the acid back into the bath. As carefully as possible, cleaning up any acid spills along the way. Okay. Again, I'm either going to change my gloves or at the very least rinse the acid off of them. Now I'm rinsing the entire outside of the container. Very much the same as the other rinsing procedures. One thing to notice on the floor here in this particular lab is that this pan, this is a pizza dough pan. We drilled a hole in the bottom, put a bulkhead fitting there, and we basically fill up this garbage can. We don't have plumbing on this side. So if you start feeling that your feet are getting wet, you know it's time to empty that out. I have a water alarm in a drawer somewhere. If anybody's really excited, they could take the time and mount the water alarm at the top of that pail. And when it gets too full, the alarm will go off and then you don't flood the lab. But I haven't done it yet. Okay, so I'm going to give this about 5 rinses, good copious rinses, and a lot of shaking to get the water in all the nooks and crannies of the caps to remove any acid and any metals that might be associated with them. So how did Ashley, when you have the caps, when you have the tubes facing up, how does that? That's got to be an awkward thing because you're rinsing them and then you have to flip your fingers over and put them there.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. So this is a different way.
Okay.
And this is the way that we do it. You know, if you happen to have a SIM card,
Yeah.
you have a SIM card that could fit in there.
4 gig SIM card. Yep. That would make things easier.
Yeah, it would, right? Because then you just take it.
Right. Tomorrow I'll bring that in.
Okay. All right. At this point, I'm just going to finish rinsing this. I didn't really do 4 on it,
Yeah.
and I think I did twice.
Okay, so I'm just going to turn it off in the meantime because it's got a 10-minute file now.
Say what?
Because it's up to 10 minutes now.